Welcome to Simply Caroline, a podcast dedicated to women empowerment where we will discuss a bunch of different subjects such as life, parenting, love, business, money, relationships, healing, recovery, addiction, entrepreneurship, and so much more. A podcast I'll do my best to keep simple, fun, and relatable and bring you tools to help you better your life. So thank you for being here. And here's your host, myself, Caroline Blanchard. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being with us again. This week, I have such an amazing woman. I've been following her for a while, and she is talking about a very interesting subject. Victoria Gallagher, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you for asking. Victoria, today we're talking about hypnotherapy. Can you, very shortly right now, before we really dive into the subject, what's hypnotherapy?
So hypnotherapy is really, it's a communication between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So you have two parts of your mind, and we've got the part of our mind that we're totally aware of. It's where we remember, have our short-term memory, where we might say to ourselves in the morning, it's like, hey, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna check off all my things on my to-do list. I'm gonna eat a great meal. I'm gonna eat healthy. I'm gonna exercise. We do all those things, and we make those kinds of conscious choices at the conscious mind. But the subconscious mind is really where all your power is, and it's really running the show. And so if you've ever found yourself in that place where it's like, oh, I said I was going to do all this, and then I ended up not doing any of those things, there's a reason for that. And it's because of the subconscious mind. It has a different agenda. And that agenda is really, kind of about keeping you in your comfort zone, keeping you safe. So it's against change, because it wants to keep everything the same. That's how it's keeping you alive. And so what we do is, we take your conscious requests, what it is that you want to have happen, how you want your day to go, how much money you want to make, all of the things that, you say that you want. And we plant those seeds into the subconscious mind to help give the messages to the right place, the part of the self that's actually responsible for creating those change. So just in a nutshell, that's hypnotherapy.
And it sounds amazing. It sounds easy, but it's not. So tell me why. No, not why. What's my question here? To really integrate something, because if it was that simple, you put something in your mind and then, I want to be a millionaire. I'm going to make my first million next month. Whatever, there's clearly, consistency and work to be done behind it. So how do you, where do you start when you want to start into that direction? I assume you don't go right away with your million. You have to touch a bunch of other little things, but how do you start?
So what hypnotherapy does is, it plants those seeds into the subconscious mind. But, like you said, it's a little bit tricky. And so what we have to do is we have to get the conscious mind kind of out of the way. And the way we do that is through deeply relaxing the conscious mind. So we go through an induction process where we get the mind into a very relaxed state. Normally, and just to give you an idea, you have these brain waves. And so you have your beta, which is your full waking, conscious awareness. Then a level below that is your alpha. And you go into alpha state all the time, all throughout the day. You go in and out of an alpha state. You do that anytime you're daydreaming or you're visualizing. And then a step below that is theta. And theta is where you're, really almost on the verge of sleep, but you're not quite sleeping. And you're just in a really trancy, really good feeling state. And that is the state of mind that allows the subconscious mind to be open and more receptive for those suggestions. Now, again, like you said, it requires a little consistency. Sometimes, just doing planting in suggestions one time, sometimes that's just not enough to override all of the suggestions that have been put in there for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending on how old you are. But it is a much quicker way than if you were to randomly just say affirmations. Affirmations are great, but they're really for the short term. They're really just to kind of keep you focused throughout the day on what your intention is. We need to get those firmly embedded into the subconscious mind. And so, we go into hypnosis, we go into those hypnotic trance, and it takes 21, 30, depending on, everybody's a little different, everybody's a little unique, but it can take, a little time to get those changes to actually take hold and become the new pattern in the subconscious mind.
I love it. Because some of the limiting beliefs we have in our mind, and it's funny, I was not funny, I don't know why I'm using this word always, but it's ironic because I was talking with a gal at soccer last night. We were talking about weight and, between 40 and 50. So we were raised in a generation that was seeing body image a very different way and very specific way. And although we're all those years later and we know better, we still have this little voice, inside of us telling us, well, that's not good enough. You're not the right size. You're not, like that model or whatever, even though our logical part, like her and I were talking, so our logical part knows exactly, and we could explain it, but then we can't feel it. And I guess that's where you bridge things into starting to embody what is logical, but quieting the, that little voice.
Exactly. Well, and it's interesting that you brought that up because also, it's a two-way communication system. So the subconscious mind actually it houses all that information that is causing you to, have those limiting beliefs. And, if you don't know what those beliefs are, they will tell you. And so that's another great use of hypnotherapy is you can actually, put the mind into, that very relaxed state. And then you can begin to ask questions of the subconscious mind and allow it to reveal why where did this come from? Where did I learn this? And go back to those times in your life when you learned that and, make new decisions at that particular place. So, they people go back and they do age regression all the time, or sometimes, even past life regression. Some of the things that are happening in this life maybe things that we needed to learn and grow and contracts that we may have made prior to this life. Now that gets in a little bit into the new age, spiritual, metaphysical realm. And so I don't really talk too much about that, but some people that they'll go way back and find out that there is a purpose and a reason from previous to this life. But more often than not, it's something that you learned about in childhood or at a very impressionable age, and from your parents, your teachers, kids in school. And kids in school, they don't realize they have they make such an impression on their peers, and you learn things from just little, Johnny in school that said, you're fat.
Yeah. And then Johnny,
keeps coming back into your mind, Yeah. And then, some of these beliefs can even happen as an adult. I mean, you can literally, because like in relationships, you can be you're in such a vulnerable emotional state. And when your emotions are open, that's just another way that we receive suggestions, good and bad. So when our emotions are open and raw and we're experiencing some kind of fear or doubt or heightened emotional state, whatever somebody is saying to us, if it's a negative thing, we're just maybe it doesn't maybe we're fighting it with our conscious mind, but it's going into the subconscious mind. There's part of us that believes whatever that person might be saying is true. But it also can work on a good note. If you're like just having the time of your life, you're just having the most amazing moment, and then somebody starts saying, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so thin, you're so smart, you're so intelligent. When you're in that really highly charged emotional state, that's just another way that you can receive those suggestions. And that's why, and I don't know if you also are aware of like my books, like Law of Attraction and things like that, but that's where when we talk about the vibration and raising your your vibration to a certain state, that's why that's so important. It's not even necessarily like, there's a lot of ethereal ideas about the law of attraction, but this is just really common sense, and the common sense part is like when you feel good, and you raise your emotional state, it if you understand the way the subconscious mind is more receptive to receiving good positive suggestions when you're in a good high vibe, when you're in that state, you're just much more likely to to plant those suggestions in.
To absorb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So school systems, listen. No. I'm just
Yes,
joking.
absolutely.
Yes. But no, I like that you said that because, I've been following like big thought leaders, like let's say like Tony Robbins, and one of his big thing is to elevate your mood and elevate your energy. And that's the whole hype behind all of his conferences, is when you attend in person, you will, you know, you will have higher energy. So actually what you hear will sink in more, which makes sense. It makes
Absolutely.
total sense. So,
Yeah.
ideally, we would all have the opportunity to book a one-on-one meeting with you and have, a session and really dig in deep. But if we cannot do that for now, what are the options that you're offering to help people with hypnotherapy?
So I offer a number of different options, all the way from completely free to, really, really inexpensive. And, honestly, like, if, going back to the very, very beginning of my getting, certified in hypnotherapy, that was the whole reason that I wanted to get certified. I had a vision that I would create a massive website where people could download programs for much, much less than they would pay to go and see someone in person. They could do this in the comfort of their own home, and it's far, far less expensive. And people, I've always been a little bit of a self-helper,
Mm.
and occasionally, obviously, the best results are always going to come from working one-on-one with someone. But if you are not in a position to do that, I've always believed in, we all have the power and the resources inside of us to change ourselves. So, I offer lots of tips and suggestions on my YouTube channel. And, those are all, I mean, there's hundreds of videos there that people can, go. So you can go to Hip Talk on YouTube. The next level up from there is I offer a hypnosis app. And the hypnosis app is completely free of charge to download. And it includes some of my #1 best-selling hypnotherapy recordings for free. So you never ever have to upgrade. And then I do offer a premium option as well for people who want to get full access. And right now it's like under $10 a month to get full access to what, I mean, you could be spending thousands of dollars a month to make these same exact changes working one-on-one, or you could spend hundreds of dollars a month by downloading one-off hypnosis sessions that you own from my website. And so this just gives you access to this whole library of hundreds and hundreds of recordings. And I mean, it's a very, very nominal investment. And, just to offset the cost of the high cost of development
Yeah.
and marketing and all of the stuff that goes
No,
into
and I've
creating
used
an
your
app.
app and it's
Yeah.
amazing. But I was skeptical before because I'm a skeptical person. So for me at first, and I remember asking you that about a year ago, how can it work with an app if you don't have a person in front of you guiding you? And I'll let you explain it. Like I've experienced it, but I'll let you explain it because it is possible.
It is. And, all hypnosis, when we think about the word hypnosis, it's just simply a heightened state of suggestibility. And we actually go in and out of states of hypnosis all throughout the day.
Mm.
Particularly as we're going to sleep at night and as we're waking up in the morning. And, anything that you say to yourself in that state, is going into the subconscious mind. So, you can actually do this. It's called auto hypnosis. I mean, you don't even you need a recording. I mean, you can hypnotize yourself. But, it's all self hypnosis to begin with. And it's all about simply following the guidance, whether you're following that guidance one-on-one, face-to-face over a Zoom, live and in person in an office, or through recording. And so through the recording, I take you through the same process that I would take you through face to face, where, I just simply ask you to follow the instructions, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and, just begin to imagine every part of your body relaxing from your head all the way down to your toes. And, and then go through all of the rest of that induction process. So I get the person into that relaxed state. Now, I'm not there and I don't know what level of trance that you're in, but most people think that in order to make that change, you have to go into some, like super, super deep level. And it's actually not necessary. As long as you have a good imagination and you can follow the instructions and you can allow your mind to visualize and accept, and maybe repeat some of the suggestions that I'm talking about, you're getting hypnotized, and you're getting hypnotized in the exact same way that you would be if you were sitting with me face to face. So it's not normally necessary. There are a few exceptions, but most people can just follow the instructions in the app and let them. And then there's suggestions given at the end for coming out of it and waking.
Yeah, so that's my question for you, because I'm sure some people are thinking it, especially people who don't know much about hypnotherapy. Can you stay stuck in that state? Like if
That
you're not
is,
there to shake me.
yeah. That is such a fun question, because a lot of people do. It's like a little bit of a scary myth that, they've seen the office, Office Space and some of these movies and things like
Mhm.
that. And all of that is, really just kind of a myth. You cannot stay stuck in a state of hypnosis. The worst that can happen is you just simply fall asleep. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, but you could fall asleep. And so you're not going to be consciously aware of hearing the suggestions. And that just means that you just fell asleep. And so the same way that you would fall asleep in front of the TV and you realize, oh, I just fell asleep. You'll wake up in the exact same natural, normal way. And so you're not going to stay stuck in hypnosis.
Well, that's good to hear. So that's why an app can also work. No, but it's silly, I know. But for me, hypnosis was like the movies, what you say, like they make people do things and you're like, oh my gosh, I would never let myself go there. But anyway, so I don't know why I went on that tangent. It just completely
No, it's fine. And, just to help you out there, because, you mentioned about, making people do things. And that's just another one of those myths that a lot of people, I just want to clear up, that hypnosis is not about making you do things. And I know that people in the audience have probably seen a hypnosis stage show, or they've seen things where the hypnotist is standing there and swinging a watch and making people bark like dogs or cluck like chickens and all of that. And, that's done in the entertainment industry. So there's like stage hypnosis and there's clinical hypnosis, and they're two totally different things. When you are working, when you're going on stage to be hypnotized for entertainment, there's a lot of little layers and filters that the audience is not really aware of. One of those being that, notice how he always asks for volunteers. Well, a special type of person is usually the one that volunteers. The person who isn't going to be real open and receptive to suggestion usually is not the kind of person that would volunteer. I mean, literally, that might sound like common sense, but it's like you've got more like your A-type personality, your B-type personality. And similarly, you have your more suggestible people and your less suggestible people. And your less suggestible people are the ones that are crossing their arms and saying, you can't hypnotize me. And the ones that are more suggestible, they're like, I'm all about fun, having a good time. So they're ready. They're ready. And just being ready is almost like that's the first state. It's like this level of rapport that you're already in. And so you get up there, and then you even go through a few other little tests and challenges so that the hypnotist knows that he's working with somebody that is a very good candidate for hypnosis. Not that everybody's not, but somebody is a good candidate for the entertainment version of it, because, it's like, he needs to get these people into trance in like 5 or 10 minutes so that they can start goofing around and do all the skits and all the fun things. But if you were the type of person, you went up there and you're like, I'm not hypnotized, he's going to pick up on that, and he's going to send you back to, to your seat.
Gonna be like, you're ruining my show. Go. Yeah, no, well, see, that's kind of like what I wanted to ask you. Could you make me bark? But because that's one of the ones that I saw, and many people saw in the chicken and everything. So I think that unfortunately that also, how can I say, probably decreased the validity, or like how powerful it can be to really change your mindset. Because for me, that's really where I think that's why we're having this talk today too. It's because, we're talking about mindset in a lot of places. So in business, we're talking a lot about mindset, in family, in you as a person, personal development, growth, all of that. It's always about mindset. That's a term that comes back pretty much everywhere, and pretty much everywhere as well. There's limiting beliefs. And so I feel like most of us know what it is. But to get there, it's a different story, to really access the not logical part, like I was saying, like the part that you can't explain necessarily. That's always a challenge. And that's why I think that hypnotherapy is so cool, because it's a technique that basically it's easy if you do it well and consistently.
Absolutely. And you brought up another really good point that I wanted to speak to, which is, about, just the perception that you can get, like the stage hypnosis. It does a couple of things. On the positive note, it's a great demonstration that can show people the power of their mind. That if you
Mhm.
just like, I mean, you see how quickly they go into trance, and then, they're taking these suggestions and they're goofing around, they're doing stuff, and they are really hypnotized. And, I mean, you might have like one or two people that are like, oh, just going along with it. But the vast majority of the people that go up there, because usually the hypnotist can tell who's hypnotized and if they've got enough experience. And so it shows the power of the mind, but at the same time, it does put a few people into like this confusion about like, well, I don't want to, I'm afraid it scares some people, to think that like, oh my God, the hypnotist has so much control and power
Mhm.
over me. And that's just a perception, because any one of those people, though they're hypnotized doesn't mean that you're giving up control over your mind. You're just like, okay, it's like you're just not it's not that you're not aware and conscious and saying yes to the commands. You're saying yes to the commands and you're just allowing it to take you over. But if he was to give you some kind of command that totally goes against your values, you'd come out of it and you would just, be like, nope, no, thank you, goodbye.
Yes. And, I remember my first time when I got hypnotized, I was surprised of that I still knew what was going on, because I thought that I would go in a trance and just like not remember what happened. But I was still very conscious of what was happening. But then
Exactly.
you see the change little by little afterwards, when you used to react to something in a certain way and you worked on it, and now you're reacting differently and you're like, wow, I didn't lose my cool. you know Uh,
Yes.
and then you're like, wow, usually I would have. And so it's not necessarily changes that come and wow you, or there's
Mhm.
no before and after pictures. It's something that with time you will feel like something is changing and is improving, and the person working on themselves know what they're working on.
Yeah.
But it's not as clear and instant as a million. Like, I want to be a millionaire and then you'll see the million. I'm not sure I believe in this one yet. But I feel like probably if you put your mindset to that, you will also attract activities and all of that will bring you towards that. It's not just that there's going to be $1 million delivered to your door.
That's exactly right. So it's not like you're hypnotizing your mind to like, have dollar bills floating through the sky into your house, into your wallet, into your bank account. It's actually what it's doing is it's just opening your mind up to, well, I mean, there's so many aspects to this. Part of it's just working on your self-love and your self-worth and you're deserving. And, because if we don't feel like we deserve wealth, and we can put up all kinds of blocks and self-sabotage. And that's what happens to a lot of people, is they just sabotage themselves, with behaviors that get in the way. It's like, why didn't I do the things that I said that I was going to do? So it provides you the discipline, it provides you the motivation, it gives you the self-confidence, it causes you to see opportunities that may have been right in front of your face the whole time, but you never really noticed it. And you can notice it in this new way now that can help you to become abundant. But it is definitely not an overnight thing. There's no such thing. I mean, it takes time to, rearrange the ideas in your mind that can help bring you success.
Yeah, no, and thank you for clarifying that, because I feel that too makes us a bit skeptical. And I'm not necessarily just talking about hypnotherapy here. I'm talking about the law of attraction or manifestation or things like that, as if, because a big example that most people take is money. And so they're like, you can manifest that and you can attract that. it's true to a certain extent. You can just sit on the couch and be like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire. I mean, your actions need to be aligned. And I think that for me, what I identify to the most is your self-deservedness. Like, do you really feel like you deserve that? And I know that at some point in my life, I was reaching for a level, and every time I was close to that level, something would happen. And it seemed like it was always something out of my control. But it took me a while to understand it was self-sabotage, because I was not ready to accept that I was okay to be at that level. So it's like you go all the way there, you're almost there, boom, you fall back. And you know what? There's going to be a storm outside and destroy everything. And you're like, well, that wasn't my fault. But there's always something, it seems. There's those people that you feel like everything is happening to them. It's like one thing after the other. But that's a good avenue to explore self-sabotage. And like, do you feel like you deserve whatever you actually say you want to attract? And I'm sure that that's one thing that you must deal with your clients a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all these, just limiting beliefs about money, about success, about what's possible. And you learn these things from, just people around you say, oh, that's not possible. And when you have that belief going on, or you think that money is bad, that money is going to make you into a bad person, or just on and on and on. You just have all of these, you're going to set yourself up to sabotage. And so, hypnotherapy is a wonderful way to just really get the conscious mind and the subconscious mind in alignment, so that you are going full steam ahead. And when you do hit those old limits, you're going to be able to move past them, and go to higher and higher levels, because you believe that it's possible, and you're willing to, you do have to take action though. And that's, I think, where a lot of the hocus pocus part of it, people they get confused when it comes to the law of attraction. Well, action is part of that word, attraction. There is no attraction without action. And so we have to, but here's the thing is what's the difference between just taking action and using the law of attraction? And what it comes down to is we may not be taking the correct actions, or we may not be compelled to take an action because we don't have the belief that that action is going to pay off for us. We may not, sometimes you have to spend money to make money. You may hold back and spending the money that is going to take you to that next level. And so that's, part of the, using the imagination to help get your subconscious mind totally on board. So when you get to that choice, that decision, the risks that you have to take, because it's all, there's risks involved at every level, whether it's a financial risk or risk of putting yourself out there for fear of failure, or all of that. Having the subconscious mind totally believing like, yeah, of course I'm, and you've seen it, you've gone there in the mind, you've visualized it multiple times. And the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what you're imagining and what's actually real in your physical reality. And so because you've gone there in the mind so many times through hypnosis, now it makes complete sense for you to take this action and go to the next level. Or, the other aspect of it is it's, you become more attractive to other people around you. You might start talking about your idea a little bit more, and other people see the, depending on the way that you're talking about it, are you talking about it like, well, I sure hope this works out. That's not going to inspire the right people to want to go into business with you or help you. But if you're like, oh, I'm just, so confident and sure of myself. And I know this is going to happen. I'm so excited about this. And it's going to be awesome. That attitude is very, attractive and contagious. And it's going to magnetize people to you that may be helpful people to help take you to that next level. So there's just so many, but it's not magic,
No, and you know what you just said, I've seen it so many times in my business that someone on my team will try to sell a product that they generally think is too expensive, that they would not buy if they were not in that business, but they try to sell it. And I always used to say, well, if you feel it, whether you say it or not, people know, because it becomes your, what you're exuding. Same thing with, like, I don't know if you're a coach and you don't have a coach.
Yeah.
Or if you're a personal
trainer. It's very difficult to ask for money from people that you won't spend on yourself.
Exactly. So the mentality there is quite often in a lot of different fields. I pick coach out of the blue, but it can be like, well, I'm going to build my business. I'm going to get to this level. And then when I'm at that level and I make that amount of money, then I'll spend on it. But basically, by having this attitude, that's exactly what you're pushing out there. So people will wait too. So you're saying, well, I'm a second-hand commodity. Pay everything else first, and then you can think of me. And it goes for products. It goes for services. How much of it do you believe is quite often when they say be a product of your product, whatever you're in. And I say that, and it doesn't even have to be in business, in personal life, period.
Yeah.
Walk the talk. There's so many different expressions like that, but it's really into do what you say. Don't just say it. If you sit in front of your kids and you eat chips every night and you drink your soda, but you tell them to eat their veggies, they don't connect what they see and what you ask from them. And that's a very basic example, but it goes for everything.
Exactly.
You have to embody whatever you are. So talk to us a bit, because I feel it's directly linked with the law of attraction. And I read on this like years ago, and I only very recently, probably in the last year or two, understood at a different level how it really works. Because I used to think, like a lot of people think, keep repeating something or keep doing this and blah, blah, but it's really your vibration level that needs to be aligned with everything that you are. It's not just your affirmation. You can sit there and do affirmations the whole day. If every time you say, I'm worthy of abundance, your stomach goes like, if every single time, well, that's the vibration that you're putting out there every single time you're doing the affirmation. So, you're the expert on that. So I'll let you talk about that.
So I believe that it is all about alignment. And, I talk about the 8 manifesting conditions in my Practical Law of Attraction book. So it's about being in alignment with each of these 8 areas, if you will. And, so you can be in alignment in one area, but out of alignment in another area. And that would be the reason why maybe you're not manifesting. So that just in a real quick nutshell, they go desire, just having a really clear, like, what you want. Thoughts, the thoughts that you're thinking are aligned with that desire. So many times when people are, thinking, though, they're usually, so many people are ingrained to think about what they don't want and what they want to get away from, and, all of the complaints. And so I, help people to kind of switch that thinking process, because, your thoughts do create and your thoughts do manifest. It's not thought alone, but it is planting the seed of, what you are going to create. So after that, we're talking about the imagination. And I mean, Einstein said imagination is everything. It's super powerful. It's more important than knowledge. And, so you want to tap into this great imagination, and use visualization to explain. This is a way you kind of explain to your subconscious mind what it is you want. Then there's the belief. Like, so some people think that they believe something, but internally, I mean, take a look around you, and, that will show you what you're committed to and what you believe. And so, getting the beliefs in alignment is also very important. So we've gone through the first four conditions. The next condition is vibration, making sure that, you could believe something, but maybe what you believe it with all your heart and soul, but maybe you just don't even have any passion or enthusiasm or excitement. And so you're just kind of like, you just have this very dim vibration about it. And so, that's just another area that needs to be thought about and brought into alignment. The sixth manifesting condition is about, ultimately, it's kind of like our connection to universal intelligence, and I call it the creative attraction. And this is sort of like where all that we've been in alignment with, everything that we've been giving our focus to, what we believe, our thoughts, our desire, all of that kind of goes sort of out there into the universe, and the universe sort of brings back to us any insight, any inspiration, any ideas that we could take a look at to take action on, that kind of guides us to our next step. And so that brings us to our seventh manifesting condition, which is inspired action, and not forced action, not like just, oh my God, I guess I gotta do this, because, so many people, like, they feel like they have to do certain things, and that takes down your vibration. And so we, want to be in alignment with taking inspired action. And then finally, the eighth manifesting condition I almost refer to it sometimes as gratitude, but it's about ultimately acknowledging its manifestation itself. It's what we do with the manifestation. It's acknowledging what we have manifested, the things that we manifested, that we, just like acknowledging and taking responsibility for the fact that we are powerful manifestors, whether we're manifesting what we want or we don't want. Just taking responsibility and acknowledging that, and celebrating the ones that we do have, even the small little pieces of the bigger overall picture that we're wanting to manifest, because we're manifesting. We have to acknowledge that, like, say, if we're going to manifest a house, well, there's a lot of other things you got to kind of manifest to get that in place. You've got to manifest the money. You've got to manifest the neighborhood, the right place. You've got to manifest, the right house. You've got to manifest, being able to get out of the place that you're currently in easily. And, just there's so many different pieces of the manifestation. So each one of them is a sign and is something to be celebrated and, and thought about and grateful for. And so those are all of the conditions. I mean, I'm sure it just, when you hear that, it's like, it makes sense to you, right? That, like, you cannot really do without any of those. And we're manifesting usually by default, because what we're in alignment with is something that's not what we want. But it's because, this is what we're thinking about. This is what we're imagining. This is what we actually believe. These are the actions that we're actually taking. And so we just want to flip the script on that to what it is that we do want, and get in alignment with that, and it will all fall into place.
Thank you for that. That's a beautiful gift. And it sounds like a lot of work, but I guess that's a big part where hypnotherapy also ties into these, like those 8 conditions can become something more natural, that you don't need to go through like, okay, number one, number two, am I this, am I that? Because you kind of like start shedding your limiting beliefs and replacing them with what should be there,
Exactly.
so that
Yeah.
it's easier. Yeah, I love it, because our mind is so powerful. And,
It is.
we know, and we've heard it so many times, that I think we're using 5 or 6% of our mind. But I think that even if I know it, because I read the info everywhere, it still doesn't sink in 100%. Because sometimes, like, even especially I'm listening to you right now, I'm like, gosh, Carolyn, these things, just do them, because I do know. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, if I really embodied it and knew it, I would be able to use more than 5 to 6%. And that is where it seems like work, but it's worth it.
It is. And it's, the mental work, the internal work, the personal development work, to bring our being into alignment. That's the most important work that we're ever going to do, and that actually is the most efficient way. I mean, because like when it does sound like a lot of work, but it's a lot less work than physically, going out there and trying to create something that you're not going to manifest until you get the mind and the vibration
Or to
going, all to
physically deal with the things you don't want because you didn't do what you should have done. And that is, I think that we're so used to react to life instead of like being proactive. Like, we're not raised to be proactive. We're raised to react and do what you're told to do, and all of these. Well, I think it's changing now with the new generations, but we're trained to react. So it seems like it's less work, but really it's way more work, because there's, when you think about your life, there are things you could have avoided.
Yes.
Well, I don't know about you, but me, I know that there's things that could have been avoided.
No, it's far more efficient. And, it's, ultimately it's far more worth it to spend time. I mean, it's not like it necessarily has to take that much time. I mean, I think honestly, the quicker you want to get there, the more time up front you need to invest. I mean, everything is an investment, whether it's an investment of time, or it's an investment of money, or it's a hybrid, a mixture of both. I mean, you're going, you don't get stuff for nothing. And, so you've got to, put out there in these ways, what you want. And you do have to train yourself. And think about it. I mean, it's like anything, if you're going to, to be a doctor, you've got to go to school to learn how to do that. And no matter what, if you want to, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you've got to train your mind to get creative and be disciplined and take actions and, and put your product out there, put yourself out there, and be confident, and, all of that aspect of just being a leader, an entrepreneur. So there's investments to make in ourselves and our mind. And it's much, much more efficient. Just like we were talking about coaching. I mean, you can try to figure it out on your own and stumble and learn from all your own failures, and maybe sometime just like kind of throw in the towel and say, oh, this wasn't, my dreams are really not important. Because all of those actions really also speak to you. The actions that you take speak to your subconscious mind. They tell you, it's like if you're, subtly, if you're saying, oh, I don't want to invest $10 a month in an app, or at whatever level you're looking to invest in yourself. It's like, you're telling yourself, I'm not worth investing in. And it's like, you're absolutely, but it's it's only because you're scared. You're afraid that it's not going to work out. You have a little bit of a lack of belief in something. And so um, that's where I think people just need to focus is mostly on getting the belief. The belief, if once the belief is there, then all the other things are much easier to get on board. So that's why I've always felt like hypnotherapy, hypnosis is the answer to all of it.
Awesome. Well, everyone get her app, HypnoCloud. But to finish, Victoria, so someone like you who really has her things together.
Well, I'm glad I'm glad I looked that way at least.
Yes. Well, and when I say that, for me, it's really like the mindset and spiritual. Like the rest can be, it is what it is around you. But I mean, to be really know where you are, know where you're going, know your purpose and all of these things. For me, these are the big dilemma in life that can take quite a while to have the answers. But what's your healthy regiment, your healthy daily regiment that keeps you always at the top of your game? I mean, at the top of your life, not game, because it's not a game, but health wise, business wise, family wise. What's I know there's no secret, but
no, I hear what you're asking. And, so it really starts with waking up on time. And I think that for so many people, that's one of the hardest things to do is they'll snooze, they'll set their clock, they'll play the little snooze game. And I think that it's really, it can be very detrimental because it's almost like this little white lie that, we tell ourselves, I'm going to get up. And then as soon as you do that, it actually creates it creates neural pathways in your brain that basically says, whenever the alarm clock goes off, I just automatically snooze. So I have a neural pathway in my brain that I hear the alarm and I get up. And it's very, very, very seldom. And maybe once, when I say seldom, like a couple of times a year that I might push the snooze button. And I want to get up for myself, and I want to get up at the time that I said, because it's also like I'm working on cultivating a relationship with my word, that whatever I say that I'm going to do, and like saying I'm going to wake up at 5:55. I've started doing that because I wanted to get up in the 5 o'clock hour again. I'm pushing myself back to the 5 o'clock, and because I've been, for the past couple of months, I've been more like getting up a little later but I get up at the time that I set, and it sets the day right, just to get up. The next thing I do, I'm a coffee person. So I go downstairs, make my coffee, and I go and I let the coffee brew while I'm up in my meditation room. And so I do my silent meditation. Anything beyond that, I do also some hypnosis after that. So it's kind of like a two-part process. So the silent meditation is really just kind of clearing the thoughts out of my mind and just allowing my mind to be open and clear, and just let the thoughts float away. This is just another way to gain control over your mind, because in the morning, when you're, if you just let yourself travel down any random chaotic thought that just comes through your mind, then that's what you're going to do throughout the day. So this is like a mental training that I do that helps me to get control over my thinking, because it really starts there. If you have control over your mind, if you have control over the way you think, then, when you say like, I'm not going to react to those situations anymore. I'm going to get all my to-do list checked off. Then you're not going to get distracted by like what you see on the news or what you see on social media, or this person that comes in and wants to, call you or have a long conversation. No, you're going to be very disciplined. And it does take that discipline really to get to that next, step. So that's super important, is that silent time. And, toward the end of the silent time, I'll just sort of do a quick run through my day and visualize like, okay, these are the things I'm going to accomplish today. And I just kind of see myself like, woo, in my power poses and things like that, And, if I feel like I want to spend a little extra time in there, a couple other things that I like to do is read, just feed my mind with, new information, do some hypnosis, do some journaling. Then I'm ready to get up, go for a walk, and go out, get some sunlight. And it's a little bit of I have a short routine and I have a long routine. My long routine can take me anywhere from a few hours, and my short routine is like, okay, today is a short routine, we're just going to do 20 minutes.
But that morning routine that you're talking about is so crucial. And, again, when I listen to you, I'm like, wow, that's work, because that's always where my brain goes. But on the other end, I feel like we kind of do this. Everyone has their own routine. And, it's just like, is it the healthy one? And is it the right one? And is it setting you up right for the day? And it's funny. I'm just going to do a little side note here. You're talking about the alarms. I always put 2 alarms. Like I'll put, let's say 7:45. I'm not a 5 o'clock girl. 7:45 and then 8. So my brain knows that the first alarm, I don't even snooze it. I stop it. And then the second one, I snooze. And you're absolutely 100% right saying you're not keeping your word with yourself. And it's almost like then I have to negotiate with myself. Like, am I snoozing for 10 minutes today or half an hour? It's like, so it's just easier. Right. That's the one thing that I got from your morning routine.
Yeah. And here's what I want you to think. Here's what I want you to understand about the keeping the word part. It's like, so many people have a hard time keeping their word. And that's the first manifestation. Like, if you really think about it, it's like if we can't manifest our own state, our own thoughts, our own control over just those little, just what we do, like, then how do we expect to be able to manifest like big things, that are, supposedly like, seemingly separate from ourselves? We got to learn to manifest our own state of mind. Like, today I'm going to manifest just feeling confident. Today I'm going to manifest keeping on, checking off my to-do list. Today I'm going to manage. So like, these are like the little micro personal self manifestations that we want to make sure that like we can do, because then when people are asking, it's like, well, I'm trying to manifest $10,000 months. Well, why do you think that you're having a hard time with that? Because there's little micro agreements that you got to keep along the way to making a $10,000 month or 20 or 50 or whatever it is happen. And so it really starts there with like making sure that we are able to like have control over our own minds and emotions and actions that we take.
Well, thank you so much for that. Because I consider myself a very disciplined person, but that's going to be like after my coffee. So after I decide to go downstairs and have my coffee. Yeah, and it's really driven by the appointments I have. But what you just said there made so much sense. Like, no, you say something, even if it's those little things, and I know that a lot of you can relate with me about having 1, 2, 3 alarms in the morning. It's just almost to give ourselves the permission to ignore the alarm. I don't know if that's also like my rebel me of like, I'm not going to get up, but it's you're absolutely absolutely right. The micro commitment to myself. There's some that I just completely, and I actually know which one they are, but I'm sure on my subconscious, it's not playing super well. So Victoria, thank you so much for enlightening me in, in that
Thank you.
subject.
Thank you so much for
But
having me.
yeah, also thank you for all the information on hypnotherapy. If you want to reach Victoria, I'm going to put all of her information with the podcast. But what's your website?
My website's victoriamgallagher.com.
Awesome. And you also have your books that we can find on?
They're all on my website on victoriamgallagher.com or Amazon, of course.
Of course. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much. And to everyone, thank you so much for being with us this week. So set your alarm tomorrow morning and get up. I will, I promise. And have a beautiful week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.